Satnam, hi guys, welcome to this workshop, which I've been working on for a very, very long time. So I'm really excited to share it with you. I'm calling it Own Your Health, and I'll tell you why. The health and wellness industry is saturated with information online, and everyone is a content creator. Everyone has an opinion. I can't really hate on them because I'm one of them, and I can't hate on myself or my colleagues, but it's true that everyone has an opinion, and it's really confusing for the end user to make up their mind about what's healthy, because you'll hear that meat is good, meat is bad, fat is good, fat is bad, gluten, oats, plant-based milk, dairy milk, all those things. And it's it's good information to hear because they all have some value, but there is a lot of context missing. So my goal with this workshop, and it's a series of different workshops, is to give you the tools to guide you to make up your own mind when it comes to your health. Because at the end of the day, you know your body more than anyone else. You've lived in your body your whole life. So you should be able to know what's good for you and what's not good for you, because our bodies are different. We're all unique, and what works for me might not work for you, right? So just before we start, a little bit about myself. My name is Shahad. I'm known online as the Emirati coach. Emirati is my nationality, and I'm a coach of many things. I'm a holistic health coach. I'm an Ayurvedic wellness coach, and I'm a yoga teacher, meditation, mindfulness, awareness, as well as an emotions coach. And emotions is one of those big topics that we will talk about in one of the final workshops, because it's something, again, that's neglected in the health and wellness space. My passion really started when I was a teenager and my mother was diagnosed with cancer. And even though I was a kid, I didn't know much. I wanted to help somehow. So I started researching by just simply Googling things. And from there, my passion kind of ignited, and I started doing courses online and then in person and meeting really big teachers to learn from them. And I've learned from so many different sources that I don't find all that information or knowledge available in one place. So what I'm trying to do here is to collect all those things that I've learned throughout my life and share it with you in one place, which is this workshop series. And then you have all the tools and knowledge to do what you want to do for your own body and your own health. And it's really important to do this for yourself first, and then you can help others. Because, like I said, I started my journey to help my loved one, my mom, but it was really for me first, and then to help my mom and my family and other loved members. So I'll go through the workshop kind of structure. I'm breaking it down to three pillars. The first one is holistic eating, which we will talk about today. The first workshop, which is understand your body. This is what we will talk about today. And then the second workshop is eat and holistic eating in general. This is a workshop that I'll host in person. So if you're interested, you'll find more information in the description below. The second pillar is nature. So how to heal with nature through the air that we breathe, the ground that we stand on, the water that we drink. Are we hydrating through that water? And finally, the sun, which is the fire element. This will probably be available online at a later stage. And then the final pillar is inner peace. So this is where we go really deep into your body from the inside, the slightly not tangible things. So how you feel, your emotions, feeling your emotions, detoxing the body when it comes to physical detox from food and so on, and also the non-physical detox, moving the body, exercise, working out, yoga, whatever you want to call it. There are so many different types of moving the body and exercising. And again, it could be confusing what exercise works better for you. And then we talk about community, which is a huge thing that's also neglected in the health and wellness space. Humans are social animals, and we need community, whether it's bloodline or not. And resting. Resting is where we talk about sleep, but also it's more than that, because first, your sleep can be restful, and you can also sleep without actually resting. But also you can rest without sleep if that's something that you need to do. So we talk deeply about how to rest the body and, reset your body. So those are the three pillars. Today we're going to talk about just the first workshop, which is understanding your body. So your body is beautiful, special, and unique. But in the same time, we do share the same biology, all of us as humans. Our blood is the same in our veins. Our bones are more or less the same. The size can be different, but we have the same biology. So we want to look at both our differences and our similarities, and just really understanding our body through both of those things. So, to understand the body, we need to look at our lifestyle, our activity level, our age, our gender, our cycle, and I'll go deeper in all of those topics, our ancestors, which is something we don't often look at, and our nature or prakriti. And I'll tell you more about that in the following slides. To begin with, our age. So, age here is not exactly a number. When I say age, we want to look at our stage in life because I could be 30 and you're 30, let's say, and we don't have the same health, we're not in the same stage or level of our health. So the number is irrelevant. It's more of, again, it has to do with your activity level, your lifestyle, your ancestors, all those things. But in general, you can compare current you to older you with age. And just, younger people have more energy to run around and play and jump. And also, if they jump and fall, their bones and muscles are, they recover faster, they heal faster because they produce a lot of those healing hormones or, enzymes, whatever that the body needs to heal faster. So your body, as a younger person, would produce more collagen, for example, which is very important for our joints, bones, skin health in general. Also, younger people have a faster metabolism. This also ties in with just them having more energy to do things, right? So, in general, younger people have more of those things. And as you grow, your lifestyle maybe should change to, align that balance. Your gender is also important because men and women are not made the same. In fact, if you look at a skeleton without any hair, body parts, organs, anything, you can tell that the skeleton with the wider hips is a woman just from the hips. So men and women are different when it comes to our skeleton, our hips, because obviously women are meant to carry a child, so their hips develop wider, but also through our organs, right? Our hips, our organs in between the hips, up there, our hair, and hair could be different for everyone because some men have longer hair as well. But you can tell from our brain also, our brain has a left side and a right side. So one is feminine, one is masculine. And therefore, our hormones, which are initially produced by the little gland in the center of the brain, are different as women and men. And we will talk about hormones here. So, cycles. There are two cycles that we will talk about here. The first one is the 24-hour cycle, and you can think about it as the first part of the day or during the day, you have more alertness in the body. So that's the beginning of the cycle. And there are a lot of alert hormones. And then the nighttime or the evening would have melatonin, which is the sleep hormone, right? So those are just the main hormones that most people get in the morning or the daytime. Cortisol is also known as the stress hormone. Obviously, a lot of it would be unhealthy, but there is a slightly healthy amount of cortisol in the morning because we all have to-do lists and things to do and responsibilities. So having a little tiny bit of cortisol is not stressful. It's just enough stress for you to check things off your list. Adrenaline, which is the alertness hormone, so this is where you feel awake, a bit productive, able to do things. Dopamine is a happy hormone, so it doesn't have to do with the morning directly, but most of the time, especially if you're someone that's exposing yourself to sunlight, you get some dopamine through that in the morning. And serotonin is also it's also almost the same when it comes to the sun. Serotonin is mostly the hormone responsible for the mood or happy mood. So when you're exposing yourself to the sun, your body naturally produces it. And then in the evening, you get melatonin, which is known as the sleep hormone. And I'm simplifying hormones a lot here just for you to, begin to understand your body a bit more. Hormones are very interesting if you want to dive deeper into them, and we can. If that's something you're interested in, let me know. But yeah, generally speaking, melatonin is a natural hormone that your body produces at night because when you're not exposed to light, and mostly before screens were invented, it was sunlight, right? So when the sun sets, your body naturally understands that it's nighttime, so then it produces this hormone for you to feel sleepy and go to bed as early as possible. Obviously, now with a lot of screens, our melatonin levels are slightly it could be unbalanced for a lot of people. So just be mindful of how much light exposure you get at night, and are they harsh blue lights, strong lights, from a computer, a phone, or are they softer reddish, orangish lights, or even a candle or a fire? Candle or fire doesn't really alert the brain, so they don't stop the melatonin production. And the second cycle is the woman's cycle, which most of us are familiar with. A lot of us, actually, even women, are not as familiar as they should be. The woman's cycle is very beautiful, and if you're a woman, it's so important for you to understand it, because it helps you understand when to do things, when can you be more productive, and when do you need to slow down. And if you're not a woman, you're a man, it's also very important for you to know the cycle of women around you in your life, whether it's a partner, a sister, a colleague, so on, if you guys are comfortable with that, of course. So just to go over them, some people started from menstruation, other people started from ovulation. You can do whatever suits you, but in this course, just for the sake of this course, we're starting with menstruation. So the common hormones produced in the woman's cycle, and by the way, those hormones, those are the three very popular hormones when we talk about men and women and sexual energies and so on. Those three hormones exist in both women and men. I'll start from the right first, testosterone. This is commonly known as the man or the male hormone. And it's true, it's higher in men, but it also is present in a woman's cycle just in the ovulation phase. And we can look at testosterone here. Again, this is very simplified terms to help you understand hormones. You can look at it as the productive or productivity hormone. So when women have that peak of testosterone during their ovulation, that's when a woman is the most productive. Men generally get testosterone in the beginning part of the day, so you can add that to the alertness part which we discussed earlier. And then we have estrogen, which we can go through the cycle here. Again, it starts from menstruation, and then in the center you have ovulation, and so on. Roughly 4 weeks. It is technically 4 weeks, 28 days, could be a bit longer. You'll see in ovulation, that's where estrogen also starts. So I'm going back here. Estrogen is the plump or self-growing kind of hormone. So this is where a woman, from being a girl, she develops into a woman. She starts developing the hips and the chest. This is where the estrogen peaks, right? And also during ovulation, which we see here, the woman's estrogen will peak. So this is where the woman would feel the most beautiful, the most plump, the most, attractive. It makes sense, right? Because this is where humans are meant to mate if they were to want to reproduce, right? So that's where it peaks. And then you see progesterone in the luteal phase after the ovulation and before the menstrual cycle. You can look at it as a happy hormone, even though I know some women might not agree that this is a very, hormonal, and hormonal is such a beautiful word, actually, because we all are hormonal. We have a lot of hormones, which we will talk about a bit more later. But yeah, those are the main hormones that we discussed so far, and those are only 8 hormones, right? But just for you to know, there are more than 50 different hormones in the human body, and some of them are, such as the ones we discussed, have very everyday kind of use, and if we understand them, we can really understand our human body much more. And obviously there is more, and if you understand it, you understand your body more, but we're just going to keep it at that for now. And again, if you're interested, I'd love to do something more deeper for hormones. The second thing we want to talk about is your ancestors. I don't know if this is something you ever thought about when it comes to your health, but your ancestors and exploring their diet, their climate, what did they do, their physical activity will actually help you a lot by understanding your own body. Because we know from just science that humans that lived in a sunny climate developed more melanin to protect their skin from the sun, right? And on the opposite end, humans that lived in a cloudier area didn't develop a lot of melanin, and they can't handle the sun. They get sunburns really fast because their body was not equipped through their ancestors, through their evolution, to protect themselves from the sun, because they didn't live in places where they needed to, right? We also can see this in the nose. People that lived in a warm or humid climate have a wider nose to absorb more of that humid air and breathe deeper, right? Absorb all the oxygen that their body needs. And if we compare that to humans that lived in a dry climate or a cold climate, they developed a more narrow nose to protect their nose from the coldness and the dryness and still, humidify. The nose actually has a lot of humidifiers built in, which is beautiful for you to humidify the air and breathe to the most optimum way. We also can see that humans that lived in a dusty or sandy climate have long lashes or thick lashes to protect their eyes from the sand, right? And maybe you can see my eyes. I'm Arab. I wouldn't say I'm from the desert, but I'm just gonna use that roughly here. I'm from the desert, and that's why my ancestors gave me those beautiful eyelashes, which I'm so grateful for. We can look at this also when it comes to food, especially when it comes to milk. And when I say milk here, I mean cow's milk because there are so many mammals, obviously, as we know, and all of them have produced milk, but not all of the different mammals' milk have lactose. When we talk about cow's milk specifically, which has lactose, which is a type of sugar, a lot of people don't digest lactose well. This is where we see lactose intolerant people, right? And actually, a lot of people are lactose intolerant. A lot of Hispanics, a lot of South Indians, Black people, Jews, people from all over the world, actually, Native Americans, all those people didn't really consume a lot of dairy or cow's milk throughout their history, throughout their ancestor line. So they never developed the enzyme in the stomach to break down lactose. When we look at more European white people, those people did develop the enzyme to break down lactose, and that's why white people are the least intolerant to lactose. Some of them are, of course. It doesn't mean that all of them aren't. Especially nowadays, our food is not exactly the same as it used to be 100 years ago. So this is just a rule of thumb for you to kind of understand yourself and think about your ancestors when it comes to food. And this is not only for lactose, and I'll talk about meat shortly. This is not only for those two options. There's a lot more, but those are just some titles for you to think about. Same thing goes with meat. I was vegan for 7 years of my life. I was vegetarian for three. So I technically didn't have any meat, chicken, or fish for 10 years of my life, which is a huge chunk, right? Now I'm back to eating meat. I don't eat chicken. I'm picky about my fish, but I do consume meat products in general. And it's not like I got sick on a vegan diet. I know a lot of people that turned vegan stopped being vegan because they were sick. I wasn't sick because I still balanced my protein, fat, and carb intake, but it really didn't work for my body is something that I realized very late actually. But I have Arab ancestors and we love meat and we love fish. My ancestors are people of the sea. We traded throughout the sea. So this is just my personal story. Yours is obviously different, but I realized that for me, meat works. I love meat. And to each its own, right? You might not enjoy it. In fact, people with specifically Hindu Indians, since they haven't been consuming meat for thousands of years, if they start eating meat, their body might react differently. And generally speaking, you also want to think about your body might react for anything new, but also give yourself time, experiment with it. Is it reacting just for the first time because it's new, or is it something that your body actually can't tolerate because you don't have, let's say, the enzymes to break it down? Right? A lot of other tribes, not just myself, a lot of other tribes like the Maasai and the Inuit of the northern parts of the world have a meat heavy diet. So if those guys turn vegetarian or vegan, it might not work for their body. So this is something for you to know in general and test on yourself because let's say you're Hispanic, but you might be able to tolerate dairy, right? So this is just, some numbers for you, some titles for you to think about, but it might apply to you, it might not apply to you. Always test it for yourself. And then we go to the fun part, Prakriti or nature. So Prakriti means in Ayurvedic terms. Ayurveda, I'll talk about that more, but it basically means the default nature or behavior of the body. So, I can bring two people and they have different natures, different properties, different default behaviors in their body. I can put them in a cold climate and one person would feel colder than the other. And you can also tie that in with maybe their fat percentage in their body or how used to the cold weather or cold climate they are. And this could also tie in with the ancestors. But in general, Prakriti is such a beautiful thing to look at for yourself, for your body, so that you know what are your default behaviors and how you can balance that with other things. What are those other things? Let's talk about it. But before we do, Prakriti is something that an Ayurvedic doctor can tell you when they see you, or you can do an online test. So you can look up what is my Ayurveda body type or what is my dosha type. If you look up those things online, you can find any free test and do it for yourself. I don't even have a link for you, so you'll find your own. Take it with a grain of salt if it's an online test, just because we know online tests can be accurate and might not be accurate. The most accurate way to find out is if you see an Ayurvedic doctor, not an Ayurvedic wellness coach like myself, even though I can help you find your Prakriti. But yeah, there is a difference between an Ayurvedic doctor and an Ayurvedic wellness coach and a consultant, which I'm studying to be soon. So, Ayurveda, if you're familiar, it's a very ancient science or wisdom of life. It collects everything when it comes to food, lifestyle, exercise, almost what I'm doing here, but I'm mostly doing it in a newer, modern sense for, the modern person, such as yourself, to perceive in an easier way. But Ayurveda is really beautiful. It's an ancient Indian medicine system, you can say. It's not medicine as in you take pills, but it works with herbs, food, and oils, and so on. So in Ayurveda, there are 5 elements, which are the elements you find in nature, right? And in Ayurveda, you can think of everything is made out of those elements, even yourself. You are made of those 5 elements. However, there are more elements that are more dominant in you than others. Like some people are more grounded. They are naturally, higher in the earth element. Some people are, let's say, they can get angry a lot, or they're very productive, and this is the fire element, right? But it's not one versus the other. I'll tell you how it goes. So in Ayurveda, there are 3 types. Those are the doshas. Those can also be prakritis. There is vata, which is air and ether. There is pitta, which is fire and water. And there is kapha, which is water and earth. Just some traits for you to kind of understand how they work. Vata, air and ether, you can think about any feature of air and ether. Air is usually cold, dry, fast. Those people like to move a lot, right? If you think about pitta, what is a feature of fire? Hot, sharp, those things. And then you look at kapha, it's more heavy. It's water and earth, it's mud. It's heavy, it's moist, it holds moisture, right? So we'll go a bit deeper. The Vata type, again, made out of air and ether. People of this type have, they're more fast, cold, dry. They can be really creative because their brain works really fast, right? They can also have a very high nervous system, and this can be a good thing, sometimes a bad thing, because they can get anxious faster because their brain is really fast. But if they, balance their vata with the other elements, like we spoke about, they can be more in control and in charge of their nervous system. Their body type usually tends to be skinny because, again, they move a lot, right? In physical activity terms, this is ectomorph. This is a body type that supports, this is a modern science body type that supports the Ayurveda system, which I think is really cool. People of this type can have dry skin, dry hair, even dry internal organs, which they need to hydrate, again, with the other elements. If we talk about the pitta, which, like we said, it's fire and water, those people are hot. And I mean, physically, they are, yes, attractive because they're the in-between, they're the balance. But also, they can get angry a lot. they can be really productive, very smart, very sharp. Their brain is sharp. They have a fast metabolism, not as fast as the Vata. Vata is fast, right? We said it is. But they have a healthy, fast metabolism. They don't gain weight fast, but they don't lose it fast either. Their digestion is one of the most important things because we always talk about fire as in burning calories, right? So fire is their element. So that's one of the things. And they can get hot very fast. Like they can feel warm in their body faster than a Vata would, right? So they don't really like going outside in the sun, let's say. In the physical terms, for physical, those guys, their body is known as mesomorph. This is one of the terms that support Ayurveda again. And they're very fiery in general, like their personality type, they're fiery. And I don't want you to guess who you are based on what I'm saying. Please do take the test, but this is just something for you to know. And then the last type is kapha or kapha. Again, water and earth, mud, heavy, moist, very stable in their mind, in their body. If you stand next to them and you push them, they wouldn't go back, while a vata could. That's just one example. They are strong physically and mentally, they are strong. And they are very moist, they are lubricant. So they gain weight fast just because they absorb water fast. When you add water to mud, it would stay, right? So they can gain weight faster. Their body tends to be a bit, slightly bigger, not in an unhealthy way, although that could be, but it could be also a healthy way of just holding water in the body. And when we talk about our hydration workshop, we can see how this affects the kapha versus the vata. So yeah, in the physical terms that people that study, let's say, um, physical instructions and all those things, their type is called endomorph. So those are the three doshas or the three Ayurveda types. I don't want to give you a lot of new terms. I know I gave you Prakriti, Ayurveda, and dosha, but I'm going to just stick to those three. No more new terms. So those are the three doshas of Ayurveda. They can apply to humans as in to our body type, which is really insightful if you understand your own dosha type. But they can also apply to other things such as climate. Different climates would have different Ayurveda types. And you don't need to focus a lot on this, but it helps if you can just roughly understand it. If you're a Vata, you don't want to live in a Vata place such as the polar areas in blue here, because that's just a lot of Vata. It would be better for a Vata to live in a warmer climate. So, and then again, it has to do with what's their Vata percent and what's their other percentages. Places that are tropical, more humid, are more kapha, right? And then we can also look at places. And when I say places, I mean like cities and, just locations rather than the climate, because a big city can have a lot of fast, dynamic energy, which we would call avata dosha, right? So this can, be regardless of the weather, if it's hot or cold or rainy. We also have the seasons, winter, summer, spring, fall. Those would have different dosha types. The time of the day also can be split into dosha types. You don't need to understand this to a deep level, but it's just, again, for you to kind of have a rough reference point of what's your type and how does your type affect the things around you, right? And the food that we eat also has different doshas. Some food is, cold, and I don't mean cold as in ice cold. No, ice can be cold, of course, but even cucumbers or some, light vegetables that tend to be cold have that kind of dosha. Spicy food can be fiery, yes, but also other foods that are not spicy can create heat in the body, and they would be described as pitta dosha foods. Foods that grow under the ground, such as turnips, onions, potatoes, carrots, and think of any other root vegetable, are very grounding, so they have the kapha element. So this is just, we'll talk about this more in the in-person workshop for eating, but I just wanted to give you an understanding of the dosha types. And then finally, taste. Different tastes have different doshas. And we talk about this also in our next workshop in person. But yeah, that's another thing. So, this is the first workshop and it was quick and easy, I hope. If you have any questions, please feel free to comment them below or send me a DM on Instagram at the Emirati Coach or even email me. I'm always available and happy to help. Again, if you're interested in the next workshop for food, you can find more details about the in-person workshop about Eat. And if you're interested in the nature pillar of the workshops, the workshop collection, I'm planning to record this online and post it for you guys. So maybe there is a link available, maybe not. Just stay tuned for that. And yeah, I wish you all the best. Thank you for joining me today. And talk now.